I'm a channeler and I'm here to talk about today timelines and straddling two dimensions and a little bit of hope. So, what I'd like to talk about first is the yin and yang symbol, and as usual, so the focus of this site is about the neutral path, about following this middle path in between the two different polarities. This yin and yang symbol is a symbol of our third dimension, and we have two sides, we have two polarities that are always playing out against each other, and they're balanced completely perfectly. And there's a little bit of one in the other and a little bit of the other in the other. That makes sense. But this is what's happening now, is that this polarity is becoming clearer and clearer. There was a period in our history where it wasn't so clear, it wasn't so obvious, but now we're in a place where it's very, very clear, very obvious that there are different sides. And the way that you know that things are polarized is when there are certain words that you can say in a conversation that will make people lose their stuff. That's how you know things are polarized. Having grown up in a time that was not very polarized in America, I remember that there were no words like that. There are very, very few words like that you could, and even then people would be able to take a step back. But now those words, when those words come up, it's like fire. It's like a match in a dry field, and it just catches a flame. And that's how you know things are polarized. And in these times where things are polarized, it's really important just to stay in the middle path, to see all these things that are going on, but not to jump into emotion or fear or anger or regret. See it as a movie, see it as stories that are playing out, that have to play out, and using that idea from the Course of Miracles that we don't really know what everything is for, because we don't have that overview perspective of everything. We're seeing everything from eye-line level, from street level, and we don't have that Google Maps overview. We just have the street level thing, and we can only see from second to second from our physical eyes. And so to judge a situation from our limited knowledge usually leads us to places where we don't want to be. So instead of that, trying to take a step back and trying to understand, okay, I don't really understand the whole picture, but I'm going to take a step back and maybe try to figure out, maybe not, but I don't really know what it's all for, and so I'm going to let go of that holding on to it. It's got to be like this, or it's got to be like this. Just letting it go, letting it be what it needs to be. And this is important for our multidimensionality. If we want to stay within this third dimensional paradigm, then that's fine. But if we want to jump out of this paradigm, it's really important that rather than thinking third dimensionally, we should be able to think from many different perspectives. So from this yin and yang perspective, and then in addition from the overview perspective as well. And another reason why staying in the neutral path is so important is because, as my guides have said, that's the only way out of here. Other than the way out that we already know, but that's the way out. Keeping our physical body is to hold that neutral point, and then that's the exit. That's the exit from this dimension. So, and the polarities also are so polarized these days to gently nudge us into this neutral path. All right, so that's an introduction, and I'm going to close this a second, and this is my site. If you're interested in spiritual guidance, you can click on the link below, and spiritual guidance, I have 3 different session types if you want to come in. And I also have these are my offerings. I have a light worker group that we meet twice a month, and it's a live Q&A channeling. And if you join, you also get access to 50 plus hours of channeling and about 30 or so sound baths. A sound bath is a meditative frequency bath. So you become bathed with frequencies. So, all right. So today's lesson, I'm not a victim of the world I see, is one of my favorite lessons, next to I don't know what anything is for. I'm not a victim of the world I see. Why am I not a victim of the world I see? Because I invented it. It's coming from my perception. I'm seeing everything with these eyes, and everything that I see is actually coming from my the way that I hold my thoughts in my mind is what is allowing me to see everything. So the way that I see that light, or the way that I see this computer, or the way that I see this microphone is affected, and I see it completely different from the way that you might see it, because I have put all the meaning onto it. I think this microphone means this. You might think this microphone means something completely different. And so, but I'm not a victim of the world I see, is because I've created the world I see. I've put all the meaning into it. And so you can let go of the meaning. Just like in the sense with the third dimension, the yin and yang, you can let go of trying to figure it out, trying to figure out this is the right thing, this is the wrong thing. I don't know, let it go. Let it go. Just let the guidance come in, and let vision come in. So seeing with our physical eyes is not vision. Seeing with our physical eyes, as we know, is quite a process, right? That we have a very limited view with our physical eyes, with the infrared light and all of these other lights. There's so many different light, so many different parts of the spectrum that we can't even see with our physical eyes. We don't even really know what the whole story is. And so it's important to use vision, and vision, it comes from the inside. And so our sight depends on our perception. And this also, there's two parts that I wanted to bring up today about that, is that because our sight comes from our perception, there's also the ideas that many people will be listening to like different channelers, and like there might be one channel that they resonate more with than another, and then they'll hear another channeler that might say something completely different, and they'll think either that other channeler, what they're saying is wrong, or something of that nature. And the one way that I really loved, this is the way my teacher would always put it, is that they're seeing a different timeline. And I really love that idea, that they're actually just seeing a different timeline. And that brings me to also the idea that I wanted to bring up today about timelines. So I had this idea today that the internet itself, and for example, YouTube or Rumble and all of these different programs that we use, X and whatever, all the other social media, they are straddling the two dimensions. These technologies are in two different dimensions. So all of the information is there, yet some of the information we'll not be able to see. And we usually say that, that must be the algorithm. We use the word algorithm without even really understanding what an algorithm means. And even understanding what an algorithm means, what does that mean So the way that we're taught, it's that we are being shown things based on our likes, what we've seen before and all of this. And that, I'm sure to a certain extent that's true. But I think if you take more of a step back and you look at it from a different perspective, this information is available on all the different dimensions. It's just that we'll not be able to see it, just like our sight, just like the visual wavelength. Let's see if we can get it. Visual wavelength range. Visible spectrum. Here it is. I don't know if I have a good picture of it. Our visible. There was a nice picture I saw before, and oh well. Oh, I think this is it. Or maybe not. But so the spectrum that we see. Let's see if I can make it bigger. No, that's not it. Huh. Well, the idea is that the visible spectrum is very small, that what we see is quite small, and that there's so much more. Let's see. How about this one? So that we have gamma rays and X-rays and ultraviolet rays, radar, and all of these different things that we can't see. All we see is our red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and a little bit of the violet, for example. But there's so much more going on than that. And so that's the idea, that so we just can't see it. And even if we did see it, we'd have the video in front of us, and another person who's in that dimension will be able to see it, and they might be sitting right next to you, and they'll be able to see it, and you won't be able to see it. And this brings me up to during the years of craziness, there was a lot of similarity to this. There are many things that happened at that time, and there was a lot of information that was being released. And the people who were open to it were able to see it, but those who were closed to it would not be able to see it. And a lot of people think that they were closing their mind to it. And that's the other concept, that they were just closing their mind down, that they didn't want to see it. And that was the paradigm. And that's one way, that's a very third dimensional way of looking at it. But what I was thinking and felt at that time was that it was a different dimension. Even if they had that information in their hands, it would be blank. So you can see that, for example, you give them a sheet of paper with all this information on it. You can see it. You give that to them. It would be blank to them. They wouldn't see anything. And I think this is another way of looking at this whole idea. And so similar to what, for example, YouTube as well, and all of this internet that we're on, we are surprisingly moving into a place where we are in the dimensions are splitting apart. What Dolores Cannon would often talk about, the splitting of the different dimensions, and so the splitting of the earth, I think she called it, right? But the idea, though, is that we're actually just on the same earth. It's just we're living in different dimensions. So just like the visible spectrum, if you're operating within the ultraviolet spectrum or the gamma ray spectrum, people can't see you, right? But you're still there. It's still there. It's just we can't see it. Just like all of the radio waves and the Wi-Fi waves, we can't see it with our eyes, but it's there, and we know that it's there. So this is the China Observer, and this is the one that kept popping up on my feed. So here's the video about China's deserted cities, and billions of Shanghai beggars are disappearing, ghost cities, all of these different things are happening. So there's China is known, and that's what I always loved about China. It was just like this bustling city. Everywhere you went, it's just crazy people. Everyone's just all over the place, and it's just really exciting, and there's a lot of energy. And but yeah, this isn't the China that I remember. And what my guides told me about China is that it is one of the first places where this is starting to happen. We're becoming aware of the fact that there's less people, and that's because we are approaching, we're all kind of moving into our dimensions that we are resonating with gently. And we're seeing, for example, that in China, where did the people go? People say that after, for example, here it says after the Chinese New Year, everyone goes home, and then they come back, right, to the cities. They go home to the countryside, and no one returned, right? But then a lot of people are talking about in the countryside, they don't see anyone there either. Now, according to the official Chinese media, they're saying that this is not true. So, I have a feeling that there's something to this. More than a feeling. And so what my guide said is that China is one of the first places, because of the cultural lens that people see everything, because of the place. It is the place where it's already starting, and people are already on at a level where they won't be too surprised by this. How can I explain it best? The best way to explain it is that this whole process has to have some sort of logic to us. It doesn't have to be a perfect story, but it has to have a sort of logic. And that's why it sometimes feels like a low-budget science fiction film, this ascension process, because it is. But we still can understand it. Even if it's a low-budget science fiction film, we still kind of get the idea. Okay, yeah, that character's doing that. And this, so it's got to be relatively easy for us to understand. Otherwise, we're going to lose our stuff. And so we're being gently kind of taken through this process. And in China, they are used to this kind of low-budget science fiction film idea. And so it's easier for them to accept it. And so in a sense, yeah, so the idea, and this was brought up by Autodidactic as well. If you're interested, check out Autodidactic. I really recommend them, that YouTube channel. But they were talking about the possibility that they're already, the people are there, we can't see them. So maybe they're operating at a different frequency, and so that we can't see them, but they're there. So this sort of idea. So I wanted to share that, and yeah, that's what I wanted to share. And in addition to that, so this is kind of related, is the idea of tartaria. So tartaria is a theory about a place, well, here it is. Here's a map of it. Tartaria. In this map from 1584, as you can see, Tartaria consists pretty much all of Eastern Europe. It's all of, there's no China here. There's India, there's Japan, but this is all Tartaria, right? This whole area. So not just Russia or not just China, it's everything. Throughout the different maps, they start to change a bit. Here you can see it's Tartaria, and then up on the top, there's Russia, Moscow, right? 1680, 1684. You can see it's quite large, this place, and we don't really hear much about it. And a lot of people will say that that it never existed, or that it's just another name for Russia. Here we go. Here's more Tartaria stuff. Here we go. There's some maps too. I forget where that one map is that it shows that it encompassed all, even to America. That's why we still have like Moscow, Idaho, right? There was that. Someone to check out if you're interested in this stuff. Someone to really like. I'm not a great researcher on this, but Mind Unveiled and John Levy are both really great places to check out if you're really interested in going deep into this. And also this site here, stolenhistory.net. It's really wonderful. A lot of research in here. But so for me, I'm a musician, and the thing that really inspires me the most is the music, right? So this is many people have probably seen this if you've done research on this. So this is a newspaper clipping about this woman, Mademoiselle Anna Bishop, and she is a opera singer, and she's singing at the Grand Musical Festival at Carusi's Saloon on Wednesday evening, February 14th. And so she's going to sing all these songs, and the entertainment will commence with her celebrated musical fantastical scenes. She's an opera singer, and she's going to sustain 7 distinct characters in appropriate costume and sing in 6 different languages: Russian, German, English, French, Tartarian, and Italian. All right, comprising the most brilliant gems of popular operas. So this is the part that interests me, because I've never heard of a Tartarian opera. I know Russian operas, German operas, English operas, French operas. I've never heard any Tartarian operas. And the fact that they separate Russian and Tartarian is so interesting to me. So I would love to hear some Tartarian opera music, and if you search for it, well, when I searched for it, I couldn't find it, but it's fascinating to me. Oh, hey, Michael, and hey, Venus Flower and Judy. Hey. So, welcome. So this just is so intriguing. What did this music sound like? And a lot of people say that now they'll say that Tartaria is actually this place, Tartarstan, an actual place that exists. But that doesn't really account for these old maps. It doesn't really. Why did they make these maps then? It doesn't quite make any sense. So there's a lot of the debunking of this whole Tartaria idea. If you actually research the debunking of it, they actually are debunking themselves usually, because you just need to look a little bit into it, and you'll find usually where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's enough information here that logically, if you're able to see it, maybe that's the whole idea, that maybe in the timeline that maybe the people that are debunking it or trying to debunk it are in a different timeline, and in their timeline it isn't the same. So yeah, there's one example about this kind of timeline thing is that there was a medicine that everyone was being given back in the time of craziness, about 5 years ago when everything started. And in the medicine that people were being given there was an insert in it that explained what was inside of it. And there was a famous case of someone, a pediatrician, pulling it out and showing on camera that the insert was completely and utterly blank. And the rebuttal or the rebuke to that was that you're supposed to look it up online. But that being the case, why would you put in this huge blank insert? Well, just leave it blank and just have a small. So it didn't. There's a lot of kind of stuff that was kind of strange, but that's not my point. My point was that, possibly on another timeline it wasn't blank, and maybe we're just not able to see it in our timeline. It's blank, and I thought that's kind of an interesting idea. But anyway, so Tartarstan, and Tartarstan is, many people say, well, this is Tartaria, this tiny little place. But what interested me about this place is two things. One is that they have this music. It's called I can't even pronounce it. Znameny. It's a traditional singing used by the Russian Eastern Orthodox Church. It's a unison melismatic liturgical singing. Melismatic means that instead of just singing one note per consonant, they'll sing many. So instead of saying I love to sing, so that I love to sing, instead of that, I love to sing, many notes to one phrase or to one consonant. So melismatic. And this was interesting to me because I've been doing some channeling about Tartaria and their music, and so there's a lot to look into this. So I recommend, if you're interested, checking out this music. It's very beautiful. And also, I didn't realize that this woman, Sofia Gubdolina, she's a really famous composer all throughout the world, and I didn't realize that she was Tartar too. So I'm going to have to look into her music more. And this actually brought me to the idea that I used to love I still do, a lot of Eastern European composers. Arvo Part, for example, he's a really beautiful composer. And Gubdolina, I'm pronouncing her name wrong, but her music is also very beautiful. And even, Rachmaninoff, the famous Russian composer, with their music, there seems to be like a harking back to another time, a time that I've never really experienced, but I feel like I've always experienced. It's very nostalgic to me, even though I'd never been there. So anyway, I wanted to share that. Going off on a bit of a tangent here. So the last thing I wanted to share is that about Japan. So speaking of this Tartarian stuff, this is Japan. These are buildings that are in Japan, and this is from the usually 1900s, early 1900s, late 1800s. They had these beautiful buildings, and in Japan, here is the Judicial Department in Tokyo. Look at that building. Doesn't look very Japanese, right? You can imagine being the case, in Japan, but at that time, given the nature of what we're taught about that time, that people were riding around, in horse-drawn carriages, and the architecture that were usually thought, the pagodas and the old temples and the shrines built of wood, and this is just kind of came out of nowhere. This is the old, this is the station, right? It almost looks like somewhere in America to me. And here is downtown Tokyo. Yeah, pretty interesting. Beautiful, beautiful architecture. I really wish I could have gone back in this time and experienced it. So here people are riding around on bicycles and actually not even horse-drawn carriages. They're people-drawn carriages, and the trolleys are here as well. Really beautiful stuff, though. These beautiful, beautiful buildings. There's some of them. The interesting part too is there are some of them still remain, and you can find them kind of mixed in with these kind of newer places. It's very interesting. Tokyo Station. So it's just interesting, this idea of what we assume. For example, Japan is not supposed to look like that. Our kind of idea of Japan is I think most of our idea about what Japan looks like is from the Tang Dynasty. It all was imported over from the Tang Dynasty. But it's just interesting that with the, yeah, I won't go too much into it, but yeah, these buildings existed at that time. And so, yes. So that was my whole idea for today, though, is just talking about different timelines and how it's very, very possible that we are already on another timeline and we just don't realize it. And that I was speaking with Mary Magdalene today, and she was talking about to be aware of your surroundings, be aware of the people that are around you. How have things changed in the past year or two? Notice your surroundings, notice the people around you. And so I've been noticing it as well. There's kind of, yeah, you know how people kind of disappear from your world, and you know that they're there. I know that that person's there, but we're kind of on a different page, right? A different page is a different way of saying a different frequency. And we see based on our frequencies. We tune into a frequency. So just like a radio, when we're kind of tuning into a frequency, there are many different genres that we can see. And right now, you who are watching this we're on the same frequency. You're able to see me. So we're kind of on the same frequency. We've kind of tuned into each other somehow. And that's the nature, I think, of this idea. So in a sense, maybe there are many different frequencies. It's not just this idea that we're, moving from third dimension to, skipping through fourth dimension and going to the fifth dimension. Maybe it's just all the dimensions all at once, and we're just kind of tuning into where do we resonate at, what resonates with us. So, all right, I'm going to go into channeling now, and I'm going to ask any information that they'd like to share. Here we go. Greetings, we are the one that you know of as Esmerelda, and we are a mermaid, and we are very happy to be here with you in this time, to be able to share this space with you, to be able to share this air with you, to be able to share this frequency with you. This is a beautiful frequency that you're all resonating on. What a beautiful frequency. It is the sound of a beautiful music, a beautiful frequency. And you are all at this frequency because you have done so much work. You have come so far to be at this frequency. You have tuned and tuned and tuned yourself so that you can approach this frequency. You have attempted to let go of all of the shadows, all of the things that were holding you down, all of the things that were keeping you trapped in one way of thinking, in one way of being. And now you are finding yourself more and more surrounded by the people that are similar to you. Have you noticed? Have you looked at the people around you? Have you noticed that there are more and more people around you that have come into your life, and even people that have been in your life for a long time, that are coming around and that are on the same frequency as you? Have you noticed this? Have you noticed this? This is a sign that things are starting to shift and change for you. And this is a wonderful shift and a wonderful change. And what we would say for all of you is to embrace this change, embrace it. This is a gift to you for all of the beautiful work that you've been doing, for all of the beautiful things that you've been doing, for all of the love and for all of the light that you have been giving out. This is the gift to you. This is your gift, that you are able now finally to approach this place where your frequency is starting to match to the frequency of the world that you see around you. What a beautiful time. What a beautiful time. All right. So, wow, I talked a lot and channeled very little today. I might have to rectify that, fix that later on future channelings. So I hope you guys are hopeful, and hopefully I will see you all. Well, maybe we'll see. And so here's, as they say, go beach, right? And Judy and Michael and Venus Flower, thank you so much for joining in, and I will, talk to you later. So ciao for now. It's not letting me leave. I'm trapped in a Rumble. I'm trapped in a Rumble studio. Hold on. Let's see.